The Film Slice crew review Shape of Water.
About 4 months later.
Hey team, Angus Draken here, and welcome to the Film Slice podcast. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Kane Diggly Wiggly, Kane Dogs, and Bro D. How you going?
I am Bro D.
Bro D. That's his rapper name. Guess what?
What?
We're reviewing Shape of Water. Cast your mind back to episode... What was it? Episode 3, maybe? It was a Pitch Perfect episode, wasn't it? That we wanted to review Shape of Water.
Sounds
yes.
right.
But it wasn't
playing
in your cinemas.
Yeah.
And
so
then
we decided
won Best Picture.
Yeah, so we decided to go back to it. So hopefully this isn't
This is
late.
Film Slice Revisited.
Film Slice Revisited.
Oh, that's cool.
Let's get into it. Kane Dogs, can you hit us up with an IMDb summary, please?
At a top secret research facility in 1960s, a lonely janitor forms a unique relationship with an amphibious creature that is being held in captivity. Rated R.
I can see that.
It's also got the subtitle, if you weren't paying attention, Fish Boy and Mute Girl.
Actually, there you go.
Fish Boy and Mute Girl.
Yep.
Cool.
Starring
Starring
Sally Hawkins as
Doug Jones.
Alyssa.
Big guy.
And Michael Shannon as Zod from Superman. And other things.
Who was it directed by?
Directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been set up based on the fact that I can't pronounce things.
Say that again, sorry. I don't think the listeners.
Yeah, I don't think we caught that, John. Doug Jones is in this film. Love Doug Jones.
What else
Love
is
his
Doug
look.
Jones in?
Well, he was the fish boy.
He
Yes.
also
He was
plays
also
exactly the same character
in Hellboy.
Hellboy?
in Hellboy.
Yeah.
Same guy.
Same.
He plays a bunch of like aliens and stuff. He's
Are you
got
sure
a really
it's not makeup?
he's got a really interesting look.
He has a very distinct face.
Distinct,
Yeah, if
fishy
you see a
looking
picture
face.
of him, he's got a great look about him.
Oh, really?
Just amazing.
Let's move on to our first segment. When did you see the movie, and what did you think?
When did you see the movie? What did you think? Do you like the movie? None of the shit.
I saw it about 3 hours ago.
I only just realised then how
pointless.
how pointless this segment is going to be.
Yeah, I saw it about 3 hours ago.
Yeah, I also saw it about I'd probably say 2.5 hours ago.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
There were some other pricks in my cinema. And
There
they
was one dickhead eating peanut butter toast.
Yeah, that was the
fucking
loud.
hated
Oh,
that.
man, that drove me crazy.
What's
And we
annoying
were eating celery. Like,
I tried to eat it quietly. I was even placing the milk down quietly. I could have Anyway, what did I think?
what did you think, Kane Dogs?
I do not see the appeal in this movie. I enjoyed minor aspects of it, but for feature film Best Picture of the Year, no.
No go from
This
Kane
felt really... It was not because, potentially it'd come off differently if I were to see this in a cinema, and maybe going in without any expectations. Going in knowing that it won Best Picture immediately sets my expectations to be incredibly high, because I'm automatically comparing it to every other film I saw last year. And yeah, this film delivered in almost no aspects for me.
Broadman.
I thought it was. It's interesting. There was bits that I really liked and storylines that I really liked in the film, but there was a lot of stuff in there which I was just kind of meh about. I was just like, oh, okay. I was just like, yeah, this is fine. But overall, I'd say above average for me.
Okay.
I watched a short film which has a very similar premise to this, and that might maybe have ruined the experience a little bit because I feel like I've already seen the story in that short film.
Yeah,
and that
right.
film went for 10 minutes, and it was very so similar.
Yeah.
And it's like crazy how similar that short film was. So yeah, I think that might have that might have changed my view of this film a little bit.
Wonder if it's connected somehow.
I don't know. It came out like 4 years ago though.
Yeah.
Maybe that was also directed by Guillermo del Toro.
That
Angus, what did you think of the movie?
I thought I actually really enjoyed it. It was good. Bit of a roller coaster.
No,
There
I'm going to be in
wasn't.
the minority here, aren't I?
A bit of a romp.
Yeah, a bit of a.
This
bit of
was
a
in
romp.
no way a romp. If anything,
No.
this was the opposite.
Yeah.
This was a more.
You just tried saying romp backwards, didn't you? Yeah.
I did.
So, yeah, so a
Does
bit
not
of
translate well
so-
phonetically.
not a Pomor.
More. No, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite interesting. It was a heavy watch. I don't think I'd go back and like watch it again. It was very like emotionally investing for me. I am glad I saw it though because it did get Best Picture, and I can see why it got Best Picture.
I agree. I understand.
It was just a bit of a mixture, and I don't think it kind of fit into any genre. Which I guess plays to its
Well, it's
strong
a science
suit.
fiction romance.
It's like a science fiction romance.
Yeah, with a bit of musical stuff in there, and like I don't know. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my thought.
Interesting.
Would you recommend it, and who'd you recommend it to? Broadman, we'll start with you.
I think this is going to be a very hard film for me to recommend to someone.
Hmm.
Like, I think it's going to be so, like, I will have no idea if someone will enjoy this or not, you know? Like,
I think
this is
so, yeah.
such a hard film for me in judging who would like this and who wouldn't. Like, yeah. I can't even answer.
No idea.
Yeah,
Would you
I've no
recommend it?
Would I recommend it? I would say to most people
Yeah.
that only watch this if you have like nothing better to watch. Like if there's like some garbage film like Rampage or maybe even Pacific Rim 2. Like if you got thinking about watching one of them, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Maybe watch something like this because at
Big
least
Shape
this
of
is
Water
kind of
instead.
like a higher caliber.
Cane Dogs. Would you recommend it? Who'd you recommend it to?
I'm going to say no. I can see why people would like it. I can also understand why both of you enjoyed it. But I feel like if you went into this film without maybe any prior knowledge to it, it touches on some what can easily be, in my opinion, interpreted as some really uncomfortable moments and topics. You could accidentally describe this as bestiality without like it just
Well, no, you could easily describe
yeah
it as
like
bestiality.
it feels
Yeah.
it was a spectacle, but it was also uncomfortable for me, and I think that recommending to this, even if I enjoyed it, I wouldn't be sure as to whether someone would watch this and get enjoyment or
Yeah.
whether someone would watch this and be like just really uncomfortable.
I'm going to say I would recommend it, but Broadman, as you said, I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. There's a very niche market, and I feel like that is the cinema nerd. I feel like if you're a cinema nerd, a cinema buff, you will enjoy this film because it is quite deep and you can dissect it quite a lot. Even like upon first viewing, if I went back and watched it again, I could probably find something different that I didn't see the first time, that
Fair
kind of
enough.
thing. So it is, it's definitely for someone who wants to go through and find the intertextuality of it all and find the subtext of it and kind of delve deep. You could easily write an essay on this movie.
Fair enough.
I would say, but I wouldn't recommend it to the casual cinema goer.
Yeah.
Because
I agree with that.
yeah, cool. Right, now, you guys know every week I put up on Twitter and now Instagram what movie we're reviewing.
And
Instagram!
no one writes back.
Guess what?
We
What?
got one from your mum. She says she hasn't seen the movie, but she assumes you like
You
it.
liked it.
No, but she would be correct. No, we actually got 3 comments on Instagram, so Instagram now is my favorite.
We've tripled last week's.
We're going to kick this off with the one and the only Connor Kelly. He
Connor Kelly.
left us a little message that said, haven't seen it, unfortunately. So that was.
Mate, you've let us down. You've bloody let us down.
No,
Can I
don't say
just
that.
say-
You're the
Don't
one
say
guy that writes in.
No, he hasn't let
Can
us
I
down at
just
all.
say-
He's,
No,
he's
you're
a bloody legend.
You're a bloody legend,
Connor
mate.
Kelly is my favorite member of this podcast.
Right? Right?
He's actually, including us.
Even when he hasn't seen the film,
That's a
he
good
puts
joke,
in.
Connor. That's
What
a great
legend.
one. It's better
What a
than anything
legend.
we've done.
Okay,
Oh.
so next one we've got is from That Tay. He says, love it. Somehow managed to fit almost everything I love in movies into one Del Toro'd package. Love action, suspense, monsters, spies, a goddamn musical number, etc. It's kind of insane that this movie exists, let alone that it's as heartfelt and genuine as it is.
That's a nice.
There you go.
That's a nice message.
That's a well
Very well put.
constructed,
Definitely. Thanks.
There's now no longer any need for us to review it. He's said all of it.
Yeah.
Good on him.
Thanks to That Tay.
See you later.
And then finally, we've got from Scene Invaders, which I think is another podcast that we found on Instagram. They said, I was very happy with it. Michael Shannon is the man.
I agree, Michael Shannon is
Agreed.
the man.
He's a G-man.
Scene Invaders, Michael Shannon is the man. Thank you for those that wrote in. If you want to write in, make sure you follow us on Instagram at FilmSlicePod and keep up to date with the posts.
How long
Or
ago
just
did-
send us a message. If you've got spoilers and you don't want to spoil the film, send us a message on Instagram. Always love to hear your reviews. Anyway, moving on to spoilers. Spoilers.
The jazz spoilers.
Spoilers.
Angus, starting with you, give us some positive lows.
Starting with me.
Yeah.
Some positives. I really enjoyed that the bad guy, who was the bad guy? What's his name again?
Shannon.
Michael Shannon.
Michael
G-Man.
Shannon. I really enjoyed that Michael Shannon lost his fingers.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
cool.
that was a really good addition to his character, and you can
Yeah.
see because as the movie progresses, he loses himself and he starts getting a bit more crazy and absurd, and as that
He
goes on,
deteriorates, and so does his
and
fingers.
his fingers that got chopped off and then got laced back on are obviously dying. You can see that kind of get
It's like a
personified in his
metaphor
fingers.
for his humanity or whatever.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And I really enjoyed all those kind of little things that you can kind of pick out and dissect and
That
everything.
was both
Yeah.
the smartest and dumbest sounding thing you've ever said, Brody. Like a metaphor for his humanity or whatever. Yeah, that was fantastic.
This film looks really good. I really like the choice of the stylistic choice of the way this entire film is shot and kind of the setting. I feel like this film was set in the 60s for a reason. I feel like the same story couldn't work in a modern setting.
No, absolutely not.
Because there's so many differences between then and now, and there are so many moments in the film that make the good guys of this film. There's 4 of them, I would say, make them out to be good guys, but not in hey, this is why this person is good, or this is why this person is better, or anything like that. It's just kind of just in little parts of their attitude and the way they deal with people, just make them out and it's I like this person. I can tell you why I like this person.
Yeah.
It wasn't shoved down my throat. I really liked Fish Boy. I thought he looked really good, and all the scenes he was in I kind of really liked him being in them. I thought he was a really interesting character in the way he was learning. I think it was a little bit of a shame for me that I didn't get to see more of him. Really, I would like to see his character grow and become Abe Sapien.
Yeah,
which
I did expect him to learn to talk. I did expect him to, because he largely communicates with the girl for the first half of the film. I expected once they took him back to the bathtub and he started talking to the older guy, I can't remember his name,
Jenkins.
that he would very quickly that he would quickly
Richard
adapt
Jenkins.
the ability to speak.
Speaking of old Jenkins, really loved his character.
His character was very likable.
The entire film, he was a very likable character, and kind of every kind of choice he made, even if it was the wrong choice, I completely understood why he did it, and I was kind of agreed with his choice that he made.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. I thought
That
it was...
and the relationship with Eliza as well. I thought those two.
It was a
played
really
off each other
beautiful
quite well.
relationship. between the two of
really
them.
beautiful is the word to use there. Yeah.
It was really kind of heartwarming.
And again, you couldn't have that character in, say, like a modern day setting, and have his sort of struggle that he was, because he, like, not only with his sexuality but with his job. Like, his job was painting advertisements.
Yeah,
but that now, like,
artist.
the transitions going into photography and stuff like that, and like such a contrast between like what he makes for other companies and then when he sketches just for himself, and it's actually quite dark and everything. Did you notice that as well? When he's
it's like
sketching
charcoal.
Fish Boy, it's like really dark and brooding and stuff. And like, I imagine the struggle for artists all the time is like, if you get commissioned to make an artwork, it's not necessarily something that comes from you. It's whatever the person that's paying you wants. K-Dogs, what did you like?
There's a few things I really liked. Touching on what both of you have brought up so far, in that this film would be hard to adapt to the current day, I do like that some of the reasons that this film is set back in the 50s?
60s.
60s?
62.
One of the reasons I really like that it's set back then and not now is that things have actually changed. Like, this film points out positive changes that have been made. Whereas a lot of times people make films that are set in that time period that aren't based on history, and it's just a creative decision. It's because people are like, because mobile phones would ruin my movie, or like, the whole plot would fall apart if everybody had an iPhone, or I don't want people to have automobile, like all of that kind of crap. I actually really like the fact that this film wouldn't translate so well, because for a lot of the reason Eliza felt secluded and alone is because of the way that they used to like discard people with disabilities back then, whereas now everything is very inclusive and everybody's very open.
It's like just remember, we are better now.
Yeah, it's like it's a great concept that instead of this shining the dark on the current day and showing us something great back then, this shines dark on how things used to be and kind of makes you feel glad that there are changes made.
Yeah.
So I really like that. I like that you can watch this film and feel proud that things have changed. The other thing I really liked is how well this slipped into being a film that can do gore and some incredible violence, and then slip into some really sweet, beautiful moments where Lisa is dancing with a mop, and like, she accidentally bumps the mop against the container and asks if he's okay, and then it can change into some really sort of sensual moments where like they're underwater and they're sort of holding each other and floating, and that sort of that glimpse of, to them it feels like an elevation as less a submersion. I like the contrast there, that they're submerged in water, but from the angles that we get and the way it's shown and the way once they fill up the whole apartment, or at the end when they're underwater, they look more like they're flying or they're floating than they do look like they're submerged underneath something. I really appreciated that. That's really my only positives though. Most of what else I want to talk about will be towards negatives.
And the musical.
I wasn't a fan of the musical. No, but it's not really.
Fair enough.
I really liked the scene with Mute Girl and Old Man where they're tapping along to the TV.
That was
really
cute.
Like that.
That was a really cute little thing.
It was such a great like friendship moment where it's like these two people are really good friends.
I did
and
like
Old
that
Man
friendship.
even refers to Mute Girl as his best friend. Later in the film.
Also, I think the concept is just interesting, like, because it's set in the race to space. It's such a real space in our history that maybe this could have happened. It does kind of give it a sense of realism.
It's set in a time
to it.
which is really believable, and it's really easy to understand when it's set. When they're talking about that, when they're talking about if you want to send people into space, they need to be able to breathe, and that's why they're holding this creature captive, and that's why the scientist wants to learn more as much as he can about this creature. And so it immediately puts into your head, when this is happening, and then you say this is really terrible what's happening, but I understand why the government's doing it in this time period.
And the bittersweet payoff at the ending is that they're torturing this creature in hopes to eventually dissect it to learn how to breathe in different environments. And at the end, you find out that the creature can just do that by will if he wanted to. Like, he gives her the ability to breathe underwater. Supposedly, this film is a very...
there's not a lot that's concrete.
But if you take what you saw as fact to the ending, it shows that the amphibious creature could have just given someone the ability to potentially breathe in space if they hadn't been such a dick. Like,
True, very true.
My favorite part of the entire film was the part where Michael Shannon rips his fingers off.
Oh,
That
that
is
was horrid.
my favorite part of your favorite part was sitting next to Angus and watching him cower behind his
hated it.
forearms.
It was disgusting.
I loved that scene because that scene just kind of, as soon as he got his fingers reattached, I wished to myself, I hope they get torn off later in the film.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where it's like there's some pus building up in
I
his fingers.
expected him to rip it
And
off.
he goes and touches his finger, and I was like, oh, is he going to tear his fingers off? This is gonna be awesome. And he like squeezes the pus out, and I was like, oh, he might not tear his fingers.
what I-
And then at the end, he tears his fingers off. And
What I
was
love,
like, yes.
what I love about that, in terms of what it could signify if you were to interpret the film, is that he's no longer thinking about what kind of man he's going to be in the future. He's no longer thinking about what kind of man he wants to be for his wife or his kids. He's no longer thinking about whether he wants a promotion in the future. He's thinking specifically who I am right now. I'm not a man that's damaged. I'm not a man that's slowly healing.
Yeah,
this is me from now on.
It's his pride.
He's thinking 100% in the moment, which is perfect for just that scene and where their character is
and
at.
using those fingers as a metaphor when he takes them off in the other janitor's house, he's completely lost his humanity. Like, that's
Yeah.
his humanity
Yeah.
gone, and then he commits murder.
He literally tears a part of himself off.
yeah
And throws it at the TV. I don't know if there was significance that he threw them on the
Probably.
floor. I'm sure there's a
Probably.
whole bunch
I
of
love the
significance
sound that
there.
it made. It sounded
Yeah,
like
it was
wood. Sounded
actually
wood
kind of
volume.
weird.
Well, it's because like they're dead, right? So they would have been like rotting and gone like rigor mortis. So they would have been hard.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the very worst thing about the film. What did you hate? Most hated.
This was surprising, but the thing that I hated the most was actually the prosthetics. I think they did a fantastic job. Looks real. The creature looks beautiful. However, because it's directed by the same guy as Hellboy, played by the same guy who played Abe Sapien, it looked too much like Abe Sapien. This film would have had more impact for me if I were able to watch it and see the creature as something I've never seen before, something where I have to learn to find the beauty in it, much like all the characters slowly do, rather than me watching it and being like, oh, it's Abe Sapien.
Could you watch it as a prequel to Hellboy?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that's what it's meant to be, because the whole thing about the eggs is straight out of his Hellboy.
It could very well be.
I think what's happened is Guillermo wanted to make this story about Abe Sapien, and it's like he found this story, or he wrote it, or whatever, and he really liked it, and he's like, oh, this is such a good like origin for the character, and like this is how he starts to learn language, this is how he's learning that he like befriends humans, and it makes all of the story so much more interesting. And then the whoever owns the rights to Hellboy was like, nah.
Well, they're doing that. That brings up an interesting.
We're doing a new one.
I was gonna say it brings up an interesting point because they're doing a new Hellboy next year.
I completely reckon that's exactly what happened. There's too many similarities.
Yeah.
Broadman, most negative thing about the film?
The end for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a moment at the end where Michael Shannon has caught up with everyone on the docks. They're about to get Fishboy into the water in a way, and Michael Shannon shoots Fishboy twice in the heart, and then also shoots Mute Girl, and they're both lying on the ground dead. And I was like, oh, please end here. This is such a melancholy ending to such a beautiful story. I would love this to end. And then Fishboy gets up and kills Michael Shannon, which I really didn't like.
I liked that from a superhero aspect of me, for him to be like, you are a god. And I was like, yeah, boy.
I would have really liked it if he took Michael Shannon's voice away. If he made him mute.
That would have been fantastic.
I thought that would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
And it could have just like disarmed him and left him there, to kind of show that he's better than humanity in a way. Because in this way, I was just like, well, he just murdered someone who's trying to murder him.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Even though he was torturing you for the entire film, is like, I would have loved it if you were to be the better thing.
Yeah.
And then he walks over, picks up Mute Girl, and jumps into the dock. And then when that happened, I was like, oh, I hope this is the end.
Yeah.
Because if you remember at the beginning of the film, it starts off with a voiceover talking about how her story was. And he's like, now I can't tell you what happened or whatever. And the film ends with the same thing. He says, I don't know what happened, but I like to imagine that they were together forever and they lived happily ever after. And seeing what happens under the water completely took it away.
Oh, she's not in Hellboy, so no, they don't.
Because they both jump into the water and he heals her and he gives her gills and then they embrace each other and then the film fades to black. And I think the film would have been so much better if they didn't have that scene under the water, if it was left up into interpretation like the voiceover is. Because the voiceover is completely from the old man's point of view, seeing them jump into the water. He doesn't know if she ever is revived by this magical creature, if he gets out into the ocean, whatever happens. But it's still a happy ending. Yeah, it's a little bit melancholy, but the
voiceover can make it an optimistic.
Yeah. And showing it all just completely took it away from me, and that was one of the main reasons why I wasn't the biggest fan. Angus,
yes,
what
Brody.
was your biggest negative low of this
film?
Levitato.
I was actually gonna say the ending. I think it would have been quite like tragic but romantic that they both kind of died on the docks.
Yeah.
But because you already said that, I'm going to go to my second least favorite thing.
The cinematography.
And my second least favorite thing was
watching Michael Shannon finger that guy's gunshot hole in his cheek.
Oh, you squirmed on that one.
But
I just watched none of the next 5 minutes of that film.
I watched it through my fingers. Ironically. But got him.
Take that, Michael Shannon.
No, but see, I understand that because he became insane, and an insane man would do that. I felt like it was fine in the movie. The thing that I didn't like the second most out of the movie was the scene where she floods the bathroom.
Yeah, that
somehow like, even though it's going through the floor and everything, like. It just wasn't believable and stuff. Because there is a scene in there which I liked, which was when she goes out she kind of has like her own dream sequence kind of thing where she starts singing and everything. And if it was like that where it was like understandable that it was unbelievable, like it was
the start of the film. The entire start of the film starts underwater.
Yeah,
with furniture floating around. I didn't like it because there were metal chairs that were floating. That irritated me a little.
The whole gravity thing.
As a bit of a stickler for details.
But again, like
that. As a stickler for things that make sense. But then I was
like, oh, it's a dream sequence, I'll let it go.
Exactly. So you go through that and you think, it's a dream sequence. But there wasn't anything in that scene to say that it was a dream sequence. Yeah. Which meant that you could put it up against the rules of reality kind of thing. Which, it fell apart.
Alright, the minute I saw her have scars on her neck, I was like, they're going to be gills.
Yeah, exactly.
The second I saw scars,
I was like, oh, does she have gills?
Yeah.
And then there were scars, and I was like, oh, they're going to be gills.
They're going to be gills. The minute I saw it, I assumed that. And what I would have preferred is much like you guys wanting them to have both died on the decks. I don't necessarily want that. I would have preferred...
You dark bastards.
Well, no, mine doesn't.
All it's open to interpretation.
Mine's not.
I like that one just. I like the two suggestions. That would have been two different films.
Mine doesn't go very. I would have preferred if, all of it happens, but.
And then he eats her under the water,
like a beheaded cat.
with the narration over the top.
I'm gonna lose my train of thought.
I like to imagine they went off. And
they lived happily ever after. And were in love forever.
Nom 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 nom.
Yeah.
Imagine if
a traveller.
Imagine if it turned out he was a puffer fish. Oh, just in a scene, he was like, fills up a room.
Just touching on the points, I guess. Cane Dogs, you didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
Just because
it was uncomfortable to watch, but. If I were told to write an essay on this, I could.
Yeah. Broadman, you enjoyed it, but there were a few things you could pick apart.
I'd say it was, I was going to say it was above average. I said that earlier. Yeah. So it wasn't, it was more than fine.
And I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and I would recommend it to anyone that is
A fun romp.
I recommend it to anyone that is a bit of a cinema buff, but I do see this going over the heads of the majority of society.
Yeah, I think much like the point that this film makes, a lot of people would walk out very judgmental.
K-Nogs, do you have any idea on what we can go out on?
I was thinking me and you could shower together.
I was about to say the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Me and Brody are going to go shower together.
Okay, I guess I'll just... No, yeah, he's definitely going.
Gonna go shower?
Just go.
I was going to do a zip noise, but I'm not wearing a jumper.
John, are you a hot shower or a cold shower?
I'm a hot shower.
Hot shower?
I'm a hot shower.
I'm a cold shower, if that
Mate,
helps.
you're not coming.
Do we want to invite him?
No.
Man,
It's a small shower.
Are you
Mate.
making me... You're making me the old man in this scenario.
Mate.
I just have to go and draw pictures of you two in
Mate.
the shower.
Go get some hair. Got him. All right.
What are you waiting for, mate?
All right, yeah, I'm coming. Hold on.
Brody is literally at... No, they're going. Jordan's actually going. Okay. All right, well, I guess it's just up to me to fill in the blanks, as it were. No, the shower's going on. The shower's... Yep. Anyway, thanks for listening to the Film Slice podcast. Hope you enjoyed that one. And join us next week.
Can you pass the soap, John?
Where-
I can't quite reach it.
Oh no, I dropped it.
Hey, Geordie, can you chuck us that rubber duck?
Yeah, I was using it.
There are 3 of them.
Not never. Oh, okay, you're right. Angus does have a lot of rubber ducks in here. All right, here you go.
Cheers. Do you want to do the outro while I play with this?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, you've been listening to a Film Slice podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Film Slice Pod and Instagram at Twitter at film_slice_pod. You can also find us on YouTube and iTunes. And the other one, what's the cloud one, Brody, who's in the shower with me, but not Angus, who I'm not talking to?
So I haven't been listening. Oh, the cloud one, did you
The
say?
cloud one? SoundCloud?
Yeah.
We're on SoundCloud.
SoundCloud.
Alright, I'm going to grab a towel to whip Brody with. Have a good one, everybody.
Oh.